Inspire, connect, and enable the ecosystem of entrepreneurs. Welcome to Hubcast by Impact Hub Lagos, a podcast for the Nigerian innovator, changemaker, and entrepreneur. In each episode, we will bring to you exciting and inspiring content where we will share knowledge, insights, opportunities, and real innovative stories from the Impact Hub Lagos community. As the bloodline of our economies, entrepreneurs need to be supported and given every opportunity and resource to succeed. It is our mission to empower you from intention to impact.
On this podcast episode, we discuss the journey and processes to upscale a small business to a six-figure company with our guest, Mr. Chimdi Chiezukwa, CEO, GNetworks Media Technology and Entertainment Limited. Hello, listener. Welcome to episode 19 of Impact Hub Lagos's Hubcast. I remain your host, Anita. How are you today? So today's conversation, I'm sure, will be very, very interesting to those of you who are business owners, who are looking to scale your business. I mean, given the current climes and all that. So if you're playing small and you're looking to go big, or if you've been struggling with scaling your business and all of that, I have a fantastic guest in the studio today. He's a media tech evangelist and a creative businessman. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Chimdi Chiezukwa.
Thank you, Anita, for having me here today.
Great. Welcome to Hubcast. Thank you so much for making our time to be on the show today.
By the way, Anita, I don't call myself a businessman.
Okay. Apologies.
Yeah,
please,
no problem.
Please. Well, and that leads to my next question, please. So please tell us about yourself, especially as it relates to your journey towards building a business in the media and entertainment industry.
Well, Anita, I'm an entrepreneur, if I will use that word.
Right.
And I think one of the difference between a businessman and an entrepreneur is that a businessman is trying to make money to survive, while an entrepreneur is trying to create a business environment that brings forth new streams of opportunity for others. So you are not just looking at yourself, how to make money for yourself alone, but you're looking at how do I create an ecosystem? How do I innovate? So a businessman more or less would spend more time doing your industrialist kind of system, buying and selling, or we're manufacturing X number of products, how much of it is being sold in the market. But an entrepreneur wants to look at that very product. How can we innovate, recreate it? How much of innovation can we bring on it? How do we expand, or how do we create a new non-existing market and bring it into existence? So that's, for me, the difference.
Interesting, and that's fascinating, and that's great. So an entrepreneur is much more ecosystem innovation minded and looking at bringing value to things, while business is much more
buying and selling.
Exactly. Fantastic. So as a CEO, what would you say is more important when you're starting out in the entrepreneurship line? Is it your passion to solve problems, or your passion rather, or your ability to solve problems?
Your ability to solve problems.
Okay.
And you know, why would I say your ability to solve problems? Because see, yes, it's good to have passion, because that's the driving force. But if what you're passionate about does not solve any problem, then there's nothing you are making. So you see, a lot of us, when we started, years back when we started, we were just passionate about what we're doing. And we weren't looking at it from the dimension of solving problems. So a lot of us got burnt out because we're just busy doing that very thing that we're doing. And were we really solving problems? Not really. But you see, the moment I began to see that it's not all about your passion, it's about first trying to solve problems, it changed the dynamics for me. Now, I can walk into a place today, and all I'm looking at the moment I stepped in there is, what problem can I solve here? Now, it doesn't matter whether they are my clients or not. Now, I can walk into a supermarket to go buy something, and I'm looking at the process. I'm looking at how are the products arranged. I'm looking at what's the ease for me to identify the products I'm looking for. I'm looking at how do I know the price when there are no price tag on that product. I'm looking at the checkout process. How is it happening? How can I make life easier for the people who come here? Now, I went in there to buy something, but I'm already looking at the problems they're having and how I can bring a solution to it. So, yes, I'm passionate about what I do, but I'm looking at what I do from the perspective of solving problems. So I can now take that passion and put into that problem that I've identified and then create a solution that I can bring to the market.
Interesting. So you have to be passionate about solving problems is
Absolutely.
What it is. Interesting. So, and I know you've mentioned this before, but people tend to keep making this mistake about, okay, what is a small business, what is a startup, or who's an entrepreneur and who's a small business owner. Could you just please give us your insights on the differences that exist there?
So, when you look at what we define a small business today and then what we define a startup today, I think the lines are very...
They're blurred?
They're blurred, yeah. A startup can be a small business, and a small business can be a startup. But now, what makes the difference is that when you're looking at a startup, that startup is already positioning for scale up. When you're looking at a small business, it's not really positioning for scale up. So I'll give you an example. The woman selling Indomie at let's say Ojota Motor Park. That's a small business because she's not really looking at the possibility of scaling up to multiple. How can you scale up that small business? That's going to be difficult. Why? Because she's selling cooked Indomie, but she's the only person doing it. She'll go back to the village, get a girl from the village to come join her, and then they're still in that motor park. There's very limited room for expansion for her. So you can look at her as a small business, doing her daily trade and all the rest of that. But you see, another person selling the same Indomie as a startup, but now decides to create an online platform for you to order for that same kind of Indomie that she's making in the motor park, is already looking at, yes, it's a small business right now, but it's looking at the prospect of scaling up. Because now you say, okay, delivery currently, Ojota area, Ojota area only. Then 2-3 months down the line, you put it up there and say, oh, expanding delivery to Ikeja, Oregun, or Baby. And then you come back later and say, delivery expanding to Alakbere. Before you know what's happening, oh, we can deliver to Bagada, to Anthony, to Isaac John, to what do you call it? Ogba, to Agege. Now you are increasing your area of delivery. Now it's the same Indomie the two of them are selling.
Yes.
But one, that's a startup with the intent, with the mindset of scaling up. The other, it's a small business with no mindset of scaling out of that motor park.
That is very, very succinct, because what we're hearing here is like a small business pretty much just is concerned about day-to-day operations, not looking at expanding. Yeah,
because they are focused focused within that environment where they are. That's that motor park, that garage where she is. That's all she's thinking about. That's her market area. Now her growth, how much she makes daily, is affected by how many people move through the motor park who are interested in eating that Indomie that she's cooking. Now, what are the number of people she can reach? Limited. Now, the other startup that is using technology as a means of driving sales is already looking at projection of, today we're reaching within Ojota Motor Park. We're not Motor Park right now for the startup, Ojota area. Our deliveries within Ojota, Ogudu GRA area right now is looking at reaching how many homes? How many offices? How many, what do you call it now? people within that community. Okay, there are 1 million people living in this community. Can we reach 0.1% of that 1 million? Then how do we scale up from Ojota, Ogudu, GRA area? How do we scale up to Alakbere? How do we scale up to Oregon, Ikeja, Alausa, Okwebi? That's a startup.
Fantastic. So aside from looking at growth from the angle of increasing customer base and all of that, that's as a startup, what would you say are the other features that a small business would need to scale up to a startup?
You have to change your perspective.
Okay.
Because what you see or what you think about, let me put it this way, what you think about is what you're going to end up seeing. Mm-hmm. So if you change what you think about and how you see that business and how you see the reach of that business, it's going to change what you end up seeing, and it's going to change your mindset as to how you can grow. So if she begins to see from, rather than, yes, still using the same garage methodology, but if she takes it from that point and says, okay, I want to own the same in-domain kiosk in 20 garages in Lagos. Now, when she looks at it and begins to apply that dimension, so she begins to look at how she can scale up. Yes, her model is still within the garage, to travelers using the garage, commuters using that garage. Now, but she's able to now look at how she can scale up from Ojota garage to
other garages, almost like a franchise and all of that. Interesting. So, would you say there are processes that exist for a small business to scale up into a startup or like a bigger business of 6 figures? Would you say there are processes involved? And if there are processes involved, what are those processes?
Yeah, there are processes involved. So you have to, first of all, what I mentioned earlier, change the perspective of what you think about. How do you see this business? How do you look at this business? Now, you first of all change your perspective. 2, you look at what skills you need to acquire. Or I need to learn how to do logistics. I need to learn how to do accounting and bookkeeping. Okay, right now I don't even do the calculation of my true profit and loss, because I don't even calculate how much my time that I'm putting into the business is worth. So I just look at every money that I make as profit. No, I have to calculate. I spent 30 naira to buy the Indomie. Sorry, I don't know.
In our current reality, those prices will just not exist. But yes,
so let's say one pack of Indomie I buy for 100 naira.
Yeah, that's more
and
realistic.
Then I spend an extra 150 naira for the ingredients that I needed to make that one pack of Indomie. So I end up with 250 naira for that pack of Indomie. I sell that meal that I've prepared for 500 naira. Now, the initial calculation will be that my profit is 250, but that's not true. So I have to first of all calculate how much am I paying for that space, break it down to per Indomie that I sell, how much of that space is going to each of the Indomie meal that I sell. I now look at, okay, my time, how much is that for it? And when you finish calculating, you now know how much profit you've made out of that 250 that you had as the difference from the cost of producing and the cost of sale. You now know what's my profit there. Now, when you begin to calculate that, you're able to look at that profit margin and say, okay, that will give you the room to place a peg on how much you're going to pay the person you are going to employ to now man the next location you want to expand to. Okay, if this is how much I'm paying myself for this, this is how much I can pay for someone to come in here, and this is how much number of meal pack I have to sell in the garage per day to be able to break even and pay up all the bills for the month. So there are processes for you to scale up. First, change your perspective.
Mindset.
Second, acquire the needed skills. Third, you need to go begin to look at the possible places you want to expand to. which is like market research. What are the numbers of the people going through that garage? So you might be looking like, oh, right now I'm in Ojota garage. Okay, let me move to Oshodi. But when you look at other factors, you might find out, Oshodi is not the best place for me to move to right now. It might be Obalinde, or it might be Yaba. Maybe because the people who pass through Yaba are maybe students, and the rest of those ones the rest of the people would need such kind of park. Whereas maybe Oshodi are more of your 9-to-5 working class people who not
need something heavier
like that, who are not interested in what you're selling. So moving to Oshodi might end up killing you, and then get you discouraged, and you feel like, this whole thing that they are talking about scaling up and the rest, it's not for me. But if you're able to do your market research properly, then you now begin to look at how do you scale up to that level.
Okay, great. Very, very fantastic insights there. So for business owners that are possibly maybe applying these processes, but they're still finding it hard to navigate, the marketplace, and they are yet to scale, what would be your advice to such individuals?
Wow, advising, it's not that's not something I like doing.
Why not?
Yeah, because different scenarios for different people, for different markets. But one thing that you have to have at the back of your mind is this. You must be able to tweak your model. So you're not going to say, this is how I want to do this and that's how I'm going to do it. No, you start. You look at what's working and what's not working. You look at what are the difficulties you're encountering, and then you begin to tweak it based on what the environment is. Now, what works in Ojota might not work in Yaba, might not work in Obalinde. So you have to understand that, how do I navigate this different dynamics? Now, secondly, that's where your passion comes in. Now, every business would go through its own building process. Now, I like using this example of a pregnant woman. Before she got pregnant, she got married, and then she got into, it's time to have a baby. She conceived the baby. She carried the baby for 9 months. All through, when she was carrying it for 9 months, she went through different stages. The first trimester, the second trimester, the third trimester, the fourth trimester. Now, each stage comes with its own issues that she has to deal with, emotions and all the other things around it. Now she gets to that final stage to deliver. Now you see, everything she has gone through to that point, at that final stage of delivery, becomes the hardest part of it. She needs all the strength to push through to ensure that she has a baby without it being a stillbirth. And then all of that energy she puts into it to give birth. And I'm told that a woman who is in labor pain is going through, the pain of labor can be equated to like 120-something bones being broken in your body. And then at the same time, that's the kind of pain she goes through. But the moment she delivers the baby, joy comes. Now that's the same thing for every business. You have that process of conception. You have to, that conception stage is, you're thinking about the idea. I want to do this. I want to scale up. I want to build this business, and I want to make it from a small business to a 6-figure earning business. But once you go through that first stage of conception, you go to that next stage of first trimester. You're looking through the idea. You're tweaking it. You're doing your market research. You're asking questions. You're doing sampling. You actually make, let's go back to the same Indomie story. You actually make that Indomie for a few friends to eat for free. Ask random strangers as well to eat and tell you what they think about your recipe for that Indomie that you're making. You're doing all of this research. It's now at its incubation stage. So you get to the second trimester stage, and then you've started that business process. You're doing it at a little scale. You're testing out what is working and what's not working. You're going through all of that. And then it's still at a small scale. Let's just call it your proof of concept stage, POC. You're doing your POC. You move from your POC to now like, okay, how do I deal with all the issues I noticed during POC, which you come to a third trimester stage, and then you go through all of that into your fourth trimester, which is now the time for you to bet the business. Now, you see, one of the things I find challenging is this. A lot of people give up at the point of birthing that thing. You've gone through all of the processes, and then the pain of childbirth puts you away. So you see, we tend to give up because of the pain. But the pain is part of the process of birthing that thing into existence. Now, if you give up when that pain comes, you won't have a business. Now, same goes for even an existing business. When the business is scaling up, you go through that same process of childbirth again, because you're birthing something new. You're taking it to a new level, a new stage. So you know that you go through all of this process, you still go through the pain to birth the next stage. So I'm earning 1 digit today and I want to go to 2 digits. I'm going to go through that pain. Now, there's I like using this graph, what do you call it in economics? Please help. Let's help. The law of diminishing return.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, when you plot that graph, it says from 0 down, you start rising, and then you get to a top. And when you get to that top, then what happens? It comes down.
Drop.
Now, I don't like saying you will drop. The reason is this. This is my own graph. This is the way I look at my own stuff. I use that law of diminishing return in a different dimension. At no point do I get to the top of the graph. When I'm rising and I'm getting closer to the top of the graph, I start a new graph.
Interesting. Okay.
So what happens? The business starts a new process. I bet something new. Oh, I'm at 1 digit and I'm rising and everybody's hailing me at that 1 digit. But I know I want to go to 2 digits. When I'm nearing the peak of the 1 digit, I start the new graph for 2 digits. Now, you have to have what you call insight and foresight to know when it's time to transition from 1 to 2. I'm sorry, I cannot help in giving you that, but you have to find out what works for you and how you're able to read the signs and the times and the season. Because the signs and the signs are out there. You have to just pick it and interpret it and be able to know it's time to transition. And then when you pick that and you're able to transition to the next season, you start a new graph. Starting a new graph means that you're still going to go through the same process and the same challenges, but this time around, I went through the challenges for 1 digit. I'm going through that challenges now for 2 digits. If you ever make the mistake of getting to the top of 1 digit and you start descending, depression is going to set in. Frustration will set in. So that's why you hear people get to the point where this guy, there was a time he was the best in this thing, and then all of a sudden he fell, and then now he's struggling to come up back again. You're only just going in cycle, repeating the same thing. So you come back to ground zero, you start again, you build, you get up, and then when you get to the top again, you come down. No, to scale up from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, you have to go through the same process. So I learned new skills at 1 to take me to 2. The skills I'm going to learn to take me to 3 are different from the skills I learned that took me from 1 to 2. So I don't stop learning. You can't stop learning. You have to keep pushing. So when I get to 2 and I'm rising, I begin to acquire the skills needed to take me to 3. Because I know before I get to the peak of 2, I need to plot a new graph that's the graph of 3. And then by the time I start 3 and I start ascending up, now this is the most interesting thing. Your colleagues will look at you at 2, at 1, when you transition to the new graph of 2, and think you're stupid. Because all of a sudden you stop getting involved in the things you're getting involved in. You change your business process, you change certain things. You said, I'm not interested in taking this kind of jobs anymore. I'm only taking this kind of jobs now. I'm reviewing my pricing. And then how do you even review your pricing? How do you even begin to attract people who can pay for 2? Now, this is one thing I say. Your wealth is not in your tangible things. Your wealth is in your intangible things. So if you think that the success and the growth of your business is in the amount of hardware you've acquired for that business, I think there's a problem, because when those hardware goes obsolete, what happens? Technology changes. What's the farming tools that were used in the 18th century are not the farming tools being used in the 21st century today. So a farmer who based his entire success on the farming tools of the 18th century will be out of business today. There will be nothing that would have been transferred to the next generation to inherit. Because if your great-grandfather left you farming tools of the 18th century, you are not going to use them today. They have no value to you today. So you need the technology of the 21st century in that same farming. But what your great-grandfather or your ancestors can transfer to you that money cannot buy, that cannot be quantified, is the knowledge of the soil and the seed. That's intangible. That knowledge is intangible. You can't hold it, but it's there with you. So it doesn't matter the current tools. You know the soil. You know how to work the soil. You know how to do magic with the soil. You know how to do magic with the seed. And then you apply that with the new current hardware for farming, and you bring 100-fold increase. So you don't stop building your intangible assets. So if I want to move from 1 to 2, I have to build on my intangible assets, which brings forth what gives me the ability to charge the fee of stage 2. And then when I want to move to 3, I will have to build that same intangible asset, because all of a sudden what I know today is not what I knew yesterday. So today now I'm able to charge this amount of money because I have new skills that I've acquired. That's why you can't stop training, learning and relearning. And then technology changes, and all of a sudden everything I knew before, it's no more useful. I have to learn something new. Now when you keep doing that and you keep building on your intangible assets, then you're able to move to that point of hitting that 6 figures that you're trying to get to. So I'll go back to the story of the Indomie seller in the garage. The moment you begin to look at building on those new skills, you now say, let me add XYZ ingredient. That changes the dynamic of the Indomie I'm selling. So I want to add this ingredient, and I say, it helps for keeping you warm during cold weather, takes away the flu. So I create my flu season Indomie, and then I create my summer season Indomie. Those recipes are my secret intangible assets, and I keep building on it. So people come and say, she started out with just Indomie, fried egg and onion, but today now she doesn't burn the egg, because the egg now has more nutrients, because she has learned new skills and new ways of preparing it. And I'm saying, there are different variations of the egg now we put on the Indomie. How do you want it? You want it as scramble, you want it as omelette, you want it as this, that. That's the intangible skills that you increase. And so when your colleagues see you transitioning to the next level, they think you're stupid because they feel you're leaving what is working. But no, you are not leaving what is working, because you've just realized that it's the time and the season to move to the next level. But remember this, you don't start learning those new skills when you're moving to the next level. You have to acquire the skills to move to the next level before you get there. Now, this is key. The skills that you build for the next level will help you see when it's time to move to the next level. Because, how do I put it? If you never had a desire to buy a BMW 7 Series salon car, you will not notice a BMW 7 Series salon car that passes by you on your way coming to work and going back home. But the moment you say, I want to buy BMW 7 Series Salon 2020 model, and then you start saving up the money towards it, and then all of a sudden you have like about 50-60% of it, and you know that dream, it's close to being real. What happens? You begin to see that car every day. It now becomes closer and within reach. All of a sudden, what happens to you? Because of that, your hustle doubles. Because the dream is close. Now that's it. You have to build that skill for the next level to allow you to see that it's time to transition and begin to see the opportunities that are available at that next level.
Amazing. A wealth of wisdom in all you've shared with us, Mr. Chimdi. Passion for solving problems, the ability to keep on learning, and then there's that beautiful one you mentioned. I don't want to forget it. That is, please remind me.
The law of diminishing return.
Yes, the analogy
but not even call it. So don't call it the law of diminishing return. The law of increasing returns.
Yes, and all of that. It's amazing, and I'm sure everyone who's listening has gotten wonderful insights and critical insights to help them move their businesses from whatever stage it currently is at to a business that's actually bringing in the returns. So before we close out for today, Mr. Chimdi, any final words for anyone looking to scale their business from where they currently are, whatever stage, to 6 figures?
Yeah, final word.
Yes.
Though you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, don't fear any evil. It's only a shadow.
Amazing. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mr. Chimdi Chiezukwa. Guys, it's been amazing today. Our topic was from small business to earning in 6 figures, and I can tell you must have taken a lot more out of today's conversation. We've been here with tech evangelist and entrepreneur, please, not businessman, entrepreneur, Mr. Chimdi Chiezukwa. And it's been amazing. Thank you so much. I hope this is not the last time we'll have you here on Hubcast. I hope we see more of you on Hubcast. And as I always say, stay connected, stay inspired, and keep making impact.